YouTubers out there. This is Jerry at the Movies, and today we're going to review. Of course, this is Jerry at the Movies, and we're going to take a look at Amityville II: The Possession. This is the 1982 prequel to the Amityville Horror, which the original film from 1979. And this film purports to tell the story of what happened in that house before the events of the Amityville Horror, before the hauntings and so on and so forth. So it has a little bit to do with, although not completely based on the DeFeos who lived in that house prior to the Lutzes, who moved in much later in that dreaded famous house. Now, the thing is that it doesn't, the movie itself doesn't bear much relation to the original film or the actual events that transpired long before the real-life Lutzes in that Long Island house. So the family in this case is named the Montellis, and they move into the Amityville house with those eerie windows that we all know. And there's a force within the house that even the movers feel, because on the first day when they're moving in, there are a bunch of movers, and of course they're helping with furniture and everything else. Basically, it is wind that penetrates walls and turns crucifixes upside down. Whatever's this force also turns water into blood and back into water. And it ruffles Mama Montelli's shoulders when she is in the basement, played by Britannia Alda. Papa Montelli, played by Burt Young, is really an abusive lout who hates church and supposedly hates all four of his kids, including his wife. So his character is practically cut out of the latter part of the film, but seriously though, what a very nice family. As for the Montelli kids, there's Sonny Montelli, played by Jack Magner, the older sibling who clearly has a thing for his sister, Patricia, played by Diane Franklin, who I am friends with on Facebook and hope to one of these days get her to autograph my book. And of course, many of you know her from The Last American Virgin and Better Off Dead, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, etc. Now, Sonny and Patricia, they share one particular scene that develops with tension and is handled, I would say, tastefully, if not completely honestly, in the entire movie. There are also two younger siblings, a younger brother and sister, who love each other as siblings should, without any of this incestuousness that is very clearly happening between Sonny and Patricia. Now, my thing with Amityville II: The Possession is, if the film handled this material, very difficult material for a mainstream horror flick, with a little more restraint, it might have worked as something more than a casual retread of The Exorcist, which this film is. Though this is supposedly based on the terrifying true case of murders within the DeFeo family, the movie skims on reality and assumes that a demon made Sonny kill his family. To be fair, the real-life shooter Ronald DeFeo initially claimed he was possessed and then I guess later recanted, but many people do believe that house really is haunted. I don't, but that's neither here or there. The house in Amityville is not actually haunted in this movie. In fact, it is more of a malevolent demonic force that occasionally knocks on the front door in the middle of the night and speaks to Sonny via his Walkman. Now that's a little bit troubling, the Walkman thing, because if we are to believe that the events of Amityville II: The Possession took place before the Amityville Horror, well, the Walkman was certainly not around in the 70s. It didn't actually come into production, I believe, until 1979, and perhaps not in a mainstream way until 1980 later on. Nevertheless, that's the least of this film's problems. Then we get the actual shootings by Sonny, who has a distorted demonic face, and some of that, the actual shootings, which did occur in that house, unfortunately, he killed his sisters and his siblings. I mean, he killed the whole family. The sequence itself in the film is quite chilling, I thought. It was very well handled. Of course, the actual shootings from the book, based on Hans Hoser's Murder in Amityville, which is a very chilling book and much scarier than anything in this movie, claimed that Ronald shot his family while they slept in separate rooms. Now, Amityville 2 then belabors for another half hour with the priest, played by James Olsen, who tries to convince the police department, including a detective played by Moses Gunn, to let Sonny go and be exorcised at his parish. The That is the priest's parish, of course. The movie becomes sillier and more convoluted, leading to anything but an actual exorcism. It is more like a cleansing. Now, I was never really a fan of the Amityville horror. I mean, I saw that film when I was 7, 8 years old in theaters, and I thought it was scary. Later on, I think I could say the film has its moments, but overall, it's not a very good haunted house type film. But I'm fascinated by the book and the bizarre DeFeo family murders. Dino De Laurentiis produced this so-called prequel when in fact it is more of a sequel. And once again, the Sony Walkman and the very much the automobiles that belong in the 1980s. But it doesn't. This film doesn't even retain the original's infrequent eeriness. The director this time is an Italian director named Damanio Damiani, who keeps the camera moving and tilting and zigzagging, but there's no unifying sense of fright or chills whatsoever. The actors recoil at blood-soaked horrors in the kitchen and the bedrooms without the slightest hint of surprise at what they are witnessing. I mean, for example, the kids are in the bedroom and they witness a paintbrush that is slowly being levitates. It's, no one's actually holding it. It just moves by itself and it paints an entire mural in their bedroom. They scream. The father comes in there and he says, "You kids did this," and he starts hitting them. And I thought, are you kidding me? The murals themselves, they did this. They are artists now who can, create an entire work in one day. There's that. And also, the other thing too, I would be more than willing to leave a house when there's so much blood coming out of a faucet. Not to mention that unexplained mural in the kid's bedroom with writings that say, "Kill the pigs." And the problem is that the movie introduces some of these horrors too soon, so that there's no time to really get to know the family and build some dimension, to them, more than just one dimension. The best one scene that did work, I thought, was when the priest first visits the house, I believe, either his first or second visit. He comes out of the house, he goes to his car, and he sees that the doors open, and the Bible that was in there has pages torn out, and it starts to fly over the place. That was really quite good, that scene, because what it did is that it gives you a little chill to the bone, because you don't actually see who did this. It's some demonic force, but you never actually see it. So you see the end result. And the film needed more of that. Kind of like in the Amityville Horror, if some of you remember, with James Brolin and Margot Kidder in that film. When James Brolin is handed this money to this kid who's supposed to help pay for I want to say a bar mitzvah, but I forget what it was. It was some sort of party, and they're supposed to pay the DJ or whatever. I can't remember the exact details. The point is, the kid reaches for the money, and the money is gone, and he can't find it, and they look everywhere. So the implication being the house kind of sucked that money from them. This movie needed more than that. Now, Jack Magner, who I haven't really seen anything else since Amityville II, does come close to evoking a certain kind of a steely, menacing look, crossed with a bit of charm. But other than that, this movie was created with the purpose of the beeline for the box office, and that's it. More movies followed. I did see Amityville 3D, I think in segments, not good at all, and the other ones I just haven't seen. Amityville Horror Remake, less said the better. Frankly, I would recommend this movie over that one any day of the week. So, pass on it. But if you are a Diane Franklin completist, as I know some people are out there, do check it out. But other than that, I mean, it's just not a good film. It's overwrought and over-the-top theatrical acting, whereas restraint would have been nice. And it introduces some of the problems of this house far too soon. Because when too much happens too soon, there's no way to invest in anything that's going on. Particularly when you see one scene where a sheet is lifted up from I guess it's a tablecloth, and it throws itself against a crucifix to cover it. And I thought, well, what's the point of doing that? I don't understand. The ghost or whatever it is doesn't want to see this. I mean, the movie makes no sense. Most haunted house movies maybe don't make a tremendous amount of sense. But for a good haunted house movie, do see the recent The Conjuring, for example, quite good. Or even going further back, about 40, 50 years ago now, The Haunting from 1963 by director Robert Wise. That would be wise. Skip this movie, but you'll laugh at it. It's unintentionally funny is all I can say. And that's it for the Amityville series. And this is Jerry the Movies with your host, Jerry Saravia, signing off.